Today, we discuss trades ahead of round 6, plus captaincies, rookies, and other strategy. Let's get right into it, starting with who to trade in. First, we will be looking at the rookies because I'm assuming that everyone will be getting a rookie in. As I mentioned in my round review, we should be looking to make upgrades now by going one up, one down. The time of mid-prices is over. We are targeting premiums and rookies now. So with that said, there are 3 rookies that I think are worth targeting this week. I'll be assuming everyone has bias, but the 3 are Caden Cleary, Tom Gross, and Sardell Hawley. Cleary is a forward-only player for the Swans. He's the only one of the 3 that I currently own, and he's done very well so far. He's averaging 75 with an 83 last week and has a break-even of -17. A bit cheaper is Tom Gross, a midfielder for the Eagles. He's priced at 67 and coming off a 72. His break-even is -14, I think, and he could be a very good option as I believe he has strong job security and probably won't leave the side much all year. And then Sardell Hawley has a bit more flexibility being a defender mid for Essendon. He has high potential, but there is a big flag. He's played well, but both games he's had, he's been the sub, and it could very likely be him again. His job security isn't high, so obviously if he's the sub we shouldn't start him, but I think he's played well enough to escape it. 73 and 60% time on ground is very good from last week, and he has some great matchups to come. So I know you'll all want to know how I'd order these rookies. If I'm honest, it's extremely close and I'm not certain which one is the best. I hate to say it, but it might be team dependent, as I can only afford my trades if I go for a cheaper option. But if I was forced, I'd say it's Cleary 1, Gross 2, Sad 3. There are also the 2 Carlton guys in Carroll and Will White, but I think we should wait a week on them. Now for the underpriced premiums, and I think there's 5 or 6 guys that I want to talk about here. Just before I do though, I just wanted to say thanks. We just hit 900 subscribers, and now we are on the final stretch to 1,000 subscribers, so thanks so much for your support. Of course, if you aren't subscribed, please make sure to do so and join this great community. But yeah, I just really appreciate all of you out there. But now back to the video. The first and most obvious guy I want to discuss is Nick Dacos. I believe he was the round's highest scorer with 136 points against Sydney, despite a bit of a tag from James Jordan. He's gone through some bad matchups early on to only be averaging just over 100. But he has a better run for the rest of the season. He's priced just over $1 million, and I don't think it would be crazy for him to average 110 for the rest of the season. We then have Andrew Brayshaw, who I got in last week. And don't worry, I will rank all of these guys too. But he's had 2 big scores in his last 2, and looks to be in great form. He has a decent run, but not great, as he's just come off a series of good games. But for someone priced not too far off $1 million, who has averaged over 110 before he presents some value. I also want to talk about Tom Green, who I think people are sleeping on. He's only averaging 106 so far this year and is priced very similarly to Brayshaw. He has the Crows this week, which isn't great, but from then until his bye, he has a really good run and will be someone I look to target. And Sam Walsh, who I mentioned last week, has come off 2 really big scores in a row. But he isn't too expensive. He could be an option, but the problem is that he's just had 2 great matchups and the chances of him replicating them again are probably low. But if you wanted to go there, I wouldn't talk you out of it. And then there are also 2 forwards I want to discuss. First is Christian Petracca, who I've had all season and has been incredibly frustrating. However, he's just had his first ton after a bad run to start the year, and he is priced in the mid-800,000s, which is very low for a guy who has consistently averaged over 100 in the past. The Demons have a great set of matchups ahead of them, so he could be one to target. And another guy who got forward DPP this week is Nick Martin, who is currently priced just below the $1 million. He started the year slow, but had 120 on the weekend. I feel like he could be someone good to target, with some very good matchups coming up. I feel like, particularly this week against the Eagles, he could go huge. The thing is, He's not far off the price of the midfield premiums I just talked about, and I think it's probably safer to just spend 30,000 more and get Dacos in. So for the ranking, I'd have Dacos 1 and Brayshaw 2. Then it depends on which positions you need to fix up, but it's probably Green 3, Martin 4, Petraka 5 and Walsh 6-6. Maybe Green could go behind the forwards. Did you know that Martin has one bad matchup for the rest of the year, which is the Giants in round 19? Maybe Merritt could also be someone to look at. Now, I'll talk about the trade-outs, and don't worry, I will talk about the rucks. But not yet. The more important players to trade out are the mid-prices who are really killing our teams. For example, a Joel Fryer or Sam De Koning, who don't have the roles we want and are scoring way worse than the rookies. These guys have to go, plain and simple. The only possible way De Koning stays is if Stanley isn't named, but he will be, and I'm pretty sure the teams for that game come out on Sunday. I also think a guy like Nevitt can and should probably go at this point. It was a pretty bad trade-in on my end. I can't think of any other obvious one, but you'd know if you have them. The next category of players is rookies who are at or close to their maximum price. These are guys like Sam Davidson, Murphy Reed, Marias, maybe Xavier Lindsay, but I think we should hold there. Personally, I don't really like trading any of these guys early when they still have cash to make, but it's a bit more of an aggressive trade if you are trying to get ahead of the comp. Now then, let's talk about the rucks. I'll assume most people have the Zeri and TDK combo. And if you have anyone else, then don't worry, because they are all doing better. Zeri is clearly being hampered by an injury, and he's already had 2 more scores under 80 in the last 3 games than he had in the entire season last year. He dropping huge amounts of cash and just not scoring well at all. He can go, but it's luxury. The obvious reason to trade him is that he's expensive, he's leaking value, and he's not scoring. The obvious reason to hold him is that he's already leaked the cash. Eventually, he will bounce back. It's a waste of a trade, and you can do better things. So yeah, I would allow trading him, but only if you have no other issues. You'd be going to a Max Gawn or Kieran Briggs, and I would suggest going down to Briggs so that you can at least make an upgrade somewhere else. And an even more luxury trade is Tom De Koning, who's had 2 70s in a row now. That's not even my concern though. What I'm worried about is that Carlton has some injuries up forward, and they will likely need De Koning to help up there, and Pittonet will come in. Maybe it happens this week, maybe it doesn't. But there is a high likelihood that Pittonet will be coming in soon, and if that happens, Tom will struggle even more. So I'll go over the trades I'm looking at now. I'll be doing exactly what I said, getting rid of failing mid-prices in Sam De Koning and Mitch Knevitt. I will then be going up to a Nick Dykos, which means I just miss out on Tom Gross and will have to go to El Hawley instead, who hopefully won't be the sub. I could go Gross and Martin, but I think Dykos is more likely what I do as it's less risky. That's the trades done, and now we can go over captain options, which I've struggled with in the last few weeks. On the Thursday night, there are a few to consider. I would hope that Dane Zorko can bounce back, and now that it's at the Gabba, there is all the more reason. I think he averaged over 120 there last year or something absurd. But I'm a bit put off with Fletcher doing so well. I also think Dacos could be very good. Brisbane isn't typically the best matchup, but I just have a feeling coming off a big one. And the Thursday night game, he could be very good. On Saturday, Zach Merritt has got to get the VC against the Eagles if you have him. He will go huge, you'd have to think. There is also Brayshaw against the struggling Demons, although we have seen Sparrow doing some tagging, but that would likely go to Sarong anyway. Gold Coast Richmond, if you had a pod like Anderson, he will be great. I think Rosé will be great against the Swans unless he gets James Jordan. And maybe a Sinclair or Wang against the Dogs. For me, it's probably Dacos VC, although it could be Zorko. And then for my captain, it will probably be Brayshaw again, although I wouldn't rule out Rosie. In terms of rookies, I wouldn't rule out having 3 in the back line. Bice has got to be on field even if he does have Port. Then Reed against the Eagles should be huge, so I'd try to get him on too. If I could then loop between Trainer and El Hawley, that would be ideal, but presuming I can't, it's a tough decision. Sard obviously also has the Eagles matchup, but we've seen more from Trainer. My real question is, do I field one of these guys over Lindsay and swing Bergman into the midfield? It's very possible, and even likely that they do. But I also think Lindsay will do well. I'm not sure yet what I'll do. And we should keep fielding Ashcroft. I just have him in the forward line for a bit of fun. Then Davidson rounds out my bench. I'd be comfortable fielding Cleary, but I just don't love the Port matchup this week. Anyway, that's about it, so good luck, and I'll see you on Tuesday after the Easter Monday game.